Good afternoon, good morning. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got started into music?
Yeah. So my name is Paulina Ramirez. I mostly play trombone. I've been playing that for about 13, 14-ish years. I kind of lost count.
Mm.
I play a couple of other things too. Like I teach trumpet to little kids, and I can play a lot more different instruments, but trombone is the main one. I play that in like a banda, but I also do some jazz gigs too.
Nice, nice. So you said you play in a banda. Would you have like a name?
Oh yeah, I play in Banda Primera Generación.
Oh, cool. How long have you been playing with them?
I want to say I've been playing with them for about 3-ish years. It's from people from my college. So
Mm.
a couple of the guys from my college, they started the band about 3 to 4 years ago, and it's just been growing ever since.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you have any personal musical influences?
Yeah. So growing up in high school, that's when I decided, oh, I want to do jazz as like my major. And I listened a lot to this trombonist, Francisco Torres, who
Mm.
um, he's a Mexican trombonist, composer, arranger. He does a lot of amazing music and plays a lot of amazing music. And then more recently, some more musical influences have been Taryn Ray, this
Mm.
vocalist from the Fullerton area, Curtis Fuller, this amazing trombonist, and Kenny Dorham, a trumpet player.
So I know you mentioned you play in the banda. Do you have any shows coming up or any music you plan to release?
So as of right now, I don't have any shows coming up. I do plan to play at this coffee shop in downtown Fullerton called the Night Owl.
Mm.
They do music basically every day of the week, but usually on Thursdays, I try to do shows there. I don't have one scheduled yet, but I want to try to do a jazz fusion gig at
Mm.
that coffee shop.
Oh,
And
cool.
then in terms of the banda, we don't. We mostly do a lot of private gigs. We do have a couple of public ones, but as of right now, we don't have any scheduled.
All right. So I want to move on into more representation and cultural questions. So I know you mentioned Mexican trombonist. Has your cultural background influenced your music at all?
Surprisingly, not really. So music wasn't a huge part of my childhood growing up. It's actually something that I heard little bits of, and I was like, I want to do that. Like in elementary school, I randomly chose a trombone for no rhyme or reason.
Mm.
I just saw it and I was like, I want to play that, and now I want to do it for the rest of my life. So there isn't like any specific cultural stuff that kind of influenced me and my music. I do feel a lot closer to my Mexican heritage through doing the banda. It's just really nice to be with people who like they are more into Mexican culture, and to learn little bits from them, and then also just be around the culture by playing the music, being at parties, and being able to um, like spread that music to other people too.
Hmm. I hear you. I hear you. So, in regard to the music scene that you play in, have you noticed any changes in the recent years regarding either increase or decreases in like appreciation of the music or the audiences that you play to?
I think there has been an increase in appreciation. Um, there's always like a saying that in terms of jazz, like there's always a saying that jazz is dead or it's dying. Um, but I feel like there's a lot of people who still really love it, who still really love making that music and that community. Like with the Night Owl place that I mentioned, that's the place that I play at a good amount. Um, and that place is an example of like the like music scene just because even if you like announce it like 2 days before or a long time before. There's so many people who are regulars there. There's so many people who regularly come out to support
Mhm.
music and to support not only just like jazz, not only just banda, but a lot of different genres. So I feel like there's definitely been an increase in appreciation. and then more people are having it at like the restaurants and stuff or at their parties.
Mhm.
Um, so definitely an increase in appreciation.
Yeah, I mean, I went to one of the gigs of the Night Owl, I remember, and you were playing there, and it was really cool because it seemed that there was a pretty big crowd gathering for that group. I didn't stay for the jam session, but I know you guys do that as well after. Would you say that a lot of people like to join in through the jam session as well?
Definitely. There are a lot of people who they either just come for the jam or like as soon as we mention the jam, they're like, okay, time to go up and time to go choose a tune.
Mm.
Um, the cool thing about like that place is that like it's really easy to create a jam session just because there's so many people already like willing, they already know that there's a jam, or they're willing to just like support the person who's playing there or
Mm.
just support the night owl, which is really nice. And like something cool about the owner is that he's so into music, and that's something that I'm finding is happening a lot. There's another person in downtown Fullerton who he owns Pilgrim's Coffee Shop,
Mm.
and he unfortunately had to stop it due to noise complaints,
Oh man.
just because of the apartments that were like right across from the coffee shop. Um, but he's so into music, and I'm finding that there's more and more like people who are starting to appreciate that music.
Yeah, that's cool. So, how important do you think it is for artists to represent their culture and their music? Do you think it's something that's necessary? And if so, do you feel that you represent your culture through your music in any way?
I feel like it is pretty important. It kind of depends, um, just because I'm Mexican doesn't mean that I want to play banda in the
Mhm.
middle of a bebop tune.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little too much, but it is important to acknowledge like your culture, and when like the opportunity presents itself to like represent it. Like there's a one of my musical influences, Francisco Torres. He's a Mexican trombonist, and he actually talked about this a little bit recently about how um, he had a friend who was like, "Hey, like you played on this cool movie. Like you need to tell people about it because you're a Mexican trombonist." And it's great to see representation in movies of like minorities like Mexicans,
Mm.
but at the same time, it's like it doesn't need to be constantly pushed out there that hey, I'm Mexican, like look at this
Mhm.
cool thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's it definitely was really amazing to like in high school growing up to see him and like be able to see myself in the music.
Mm.
So it kind of just depends. Like I think it's important. It definitely encouraged me and inspired me to do music more because I saw like part of myself in the music I loved.
Mhm.
But it also depends on context too, because
Yeah.
if I pull out the valve trombone and start playing like Arriba Pichataro in the middle of like a classical orchestra,
Mhm.
I don't
Maybe
think it would work.
like a time and place. Time and place.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. Do you think that it's possible for music to bridge cultural gaps? I know we've talked a lot about appreciation, but do you think it can lead to appreciation of other cultures and the music that they play?
definitely. Yeah, like with the banda music, that's definitely helped me feel a lot closer to my culture.
Mm.
Because my parents, they're not very big on like, oh, like we have to celebrate this Mexican holiday. We have to celebrate Independence Day. Like you have to know about this stuff. Like I know certain people have parents who are like that and then other people don't, and so for people who don't have parents like that where they're constantly like exposing them to this culture,
Mm.
um being around that music itself, I feel like it brings you closer to that culture just because one, like you're around that music, like you get to hear the music of your culture, but also because some of the music does have like importance. There's funeral music, there is like party music, and it's always good to be exposed to all kinds of music, and then that definitely like sparks an interest in like, oh, like I like that song, like let me learn a little bit more about it. I
Mm.
feel like it definitely can bridge cultural gaps that way. Not necessarily in the you're going to constantly be learning about this. Like, we're going to tell you all the information you could learn about the song, but more just like, here's a bit of like this culture, and if you like it, like you can look more into it. Like, it's easy to find information about all the music, and the different cultures that people are exposed through like looking it up on the Wikipedia, Discog, all the good music websites.
Yeah, and it's like a phenomenon, like for example, like K-pop, a lot of people who typically wouldn't be introduced to it because of like maybe regional differences, when something blows up in popularity, you can appreciate it more just because it's very popular, it's something you hear more often. So I think it can lead to something more like appreciative versus like, oh, I don't know what this is saying, so I don't want to listen to it. I think there's like a lot of that being taken down where even if I don't know what the lyrics are saying, I can kind of listen to the instrumental or kind of just the overall vibe of the music and get it with me.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it goes along with that increase in appreciation just of music overall.
Mhm.
There's also like an increase in the appreciation of cultures where people, because they're exposed to music, they want to find out more about it, or just because like it's there, they, even if they don't understand the words, even if they're not 100% sure about the context, like they can still appreciate it as the music it is.
So I just have one question. It's a little more on the fun side, not super, super serious. So my closing question for you is, if you could have any superpower to help you with your music career, what would it be and why?
Honestly, I think it would be super speed, just because I chose a very difficult instrument. Each instrument is difficult in its own merit, but I chose the one with the big slide that I have to move my arm constantly for it.
Mhm.
And I am working on being able to play faster passages more efficiently, but definitely super speed would also really help with that.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, Paulina. I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me and to let us know a little bit more about your personal music journey. Is there anything you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to promote? Anything?
I would just say go out to like your local coffee shops and support that music. There's
Mhm.
definitely a lot of like great places. Like in Fullerton, the Night Owl is a great place. They have music 7 days a week. They always have something going on. So whether it's like blues, jazz, country, open mic, they have a lot of different stuff. And I'm sure that every single local scene probably has some sort of place like that. So definitely support your local coffee shops or restaurants who support music, and listen to music that you normally wouldn't every once in a while.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.